Wouldn't a fly swatter be easier?
Man who catch fly with chopstick accomplish anything.
Remember when the ultimate underdog story was a skinny kid from Jersey learning karate from his apartment's handyman? And the training was just chores? You know, waxing cars, painting fences, sanding decks. The Karate Kid hit theaters in 1984 and became way bigger than anyone expected. Ralph Macchio played Daniel LaRusso, a San Fernando Valley transplant whose crush on Allie Mills led to him being targeted by local karate champ Johnny Lawrence, played by William Zabka. Pat Morita earned an Oscar nomination as Mr. Miyagi, the handyman who teaches Daniel that martial arts isn't about fighting, it's about balance, discipline, and free home improvement, something that Tim Allen would get along with. The movie turned $8 million into $131 million. Macchio became a teen idol, and a generation became convinced they could master karate by doing chores in circular motions. But behind the crane kicks, this film had its own wild journey. A producer who refused to see past a sitcom role, a leading man way older than his character, and a theme song that Rocky rejected. Today, we're counting down 15 weird and wonderful facts about the Karate Kid. But before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with anyone who still yells sweep the leg at inappropriate moments. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15. The writer got jumped at the 1964 World's Fair. The Karate Kid wasn't cooked up in a Hollywood pitch meeting. It came from real pain and one brutal beatdown that changed Robert Mark Kamen's life. In 1964, Kamen got jumped at the New York World's Fair, beaten badly enough that he made a decision right there that never again was this going to happen, so he started training. His first instructor taught raw, aggressive violence. Great for revenge fantasies, not so great for inner peace. Eventually, Kamen found Okinawan Goju Ryu, a defensive style focused on turning an attacker's aggression against them. Sound familiar? That's Mr. Miyagi's entire philosophy. Columbia hired Kamen because he'd actually lived it. He wasn't some screenwriter flipping through an encyclopedia between coffee breaks, and that's why the script never feels preachy. Kamen wasn't lecturing anyone about pacifism, he was sharing something that took him years to figure out. Turns out the best revenge is a crane kick and a $130 million movie. Number 14, Ralph Macchio was 22, playing a high school senior. Ralph Macchio was 22 when he played Daniel LaRusso. A full-grown adult getting shoved into lockers by other adults pretending to be teenagers. His babyface was so convincing that cast members didn't believe his real age. Filmmakers liked him so much they rewrote the character, changing Daniel Weber to Daniel LaRusso to match Macchio's Italian heritage and Jersey attitude. Now, here's the thing. Macchio wasn't even the oldest fake teenager on set. William Zabka was 19, which at least put him in the ballpark of high school age, but several of the Cobra Kai members were pushing their mid-20s, which explains why they looked less like bullies and more like guys who should have graduated half a decade ago. Macchio's youthful appearance became a running joke throughout his career. He kept playing teenagers well into his late 20s, Hollywood's forever minor. Next time you watch Daniel's son get tormented, remember that helpless teenager was old enough to legally knock back a Budweiser. Number 13, the producer couldn't see past Arnold from Happy Days. This one seems impossible now, but Pat Morita almost didn't get Mr. Miyagi.
Hi, Richie. Yeah, this Arnold, everything is fine here. All the same, I still got a mustache.
Producer Jerry Weintraub flat out refused to let him audition. The problem was that Morita was Arnold from Happy Days, a comedian. Weintraub couldn't see past the laugh track. Director John Avildsen thought otherwise. He secretly recorded Morita's audition and ambushed Weintraub during a production meeting. He just popped the tape in mid-conversation. Surprise, Jerry! Weintraub was impressed, but stubborn. He made Morita audition 5 separate times before finally admitting he'd almost made the worst mistake of his career. The twist was that producers also considered Fumio Demura, the karate master who became Morita's stunt double. Demura was legit, a Shito Ryu champion who'd trained Bruce Lee in nunchaku. The man could have demolished Cobra Kai without ever breaking a sweat. Demura had the moves, but Morita had everything else. Together, they created one of cinema's most beloved characters. Morita earned an Oscar nomination. Not bad for a guy who almost got passed over because he once served burgers on a sitcom. Number 12, You're the Best was originally written for Rocky III. That tournament montage song, the one permanently lodged in your brain, wasn't exactly written for the Karate Kid. It was actually meant for Rocky III. John Esposito wrote You're the Best for Stallone's threequel. But Stallone passed in favor of Eye of the Tiger, which, between you and me, I actually like better. Anyway, You're the Best sat on a shelf until the Karate Kid needed something for its tournament montage. Filmmakers grabbed it, slapped it over Daniel-san punching his way through the bracket, and created an 80s anthem. The funny part was, the lyrics make 0 sense for Daniel's story. History repeats itself? He's a scrawny kid who learned karate literally 3 months ago, but nobody cared because the song absolutely slapped. Esposito himself has said he's grateful Stallone passed. Eye of the Tiger won a Grammy. You're the Best got a movie where its over-the-top optimism actually fit. Rocky's Reject became Daniel's victory lap. Number 11, Elisabeth Shue got cast partly because of a Burger King commercial. Before Elisabeth Shue became Allie, she was a college student paying tuition the old-fashioned way. Television commercials.
Stop what you're doing and go to your phone. I want to make a bet with you. You see, in a coast-to-coast survey, 3 out of 4 people said they like their burgers 6 their way.
Burger King, diamonds, mayonnaise. If it needed a wholesome blonde, Shue was available. That Burger King ad, part of the Battle of the Burgers campaign, caught director John Avildsen's attention. He'd considered Helen Hunt and Demi Moore for Allie, but Shue had that girl-next-door charm that they needed, and apparently, she sold the hell out of a Whopper. She transferred to Harvard after landing the role, then left 1 semester short of graduating to pursue acting full-time. She finally finished her degree in 2000, 15 years later. A Whopper commercial kicked off an Oscar-nominated career. I think she made the right call. Number 10, the famous crane kick took over 30 takes to get right. That final moment of Daniel balancing on one leg, launching into the kick that wins the tournament, is one of the most memorable images in 80s cinema. It took over 30 attempts to nail, though. Avildsen wanted the shot low, wide, and perfectly timed. They tried every angle until they captured the one we all remember. Think about what's happening in that scene. Daniel's exhausted. His knee is barely functional from illegal hit. He's limping, and the crowd's on their feet. Miyagi whispers one last piece of advice, and Daniel decides to attempt the most impossible move he's learned, standing on his injured leg. Johnny charges, Daniel launches, perfect contact, tournament over. Macchio deserves credit for the kick, but William Zabka deserves credit for selling the hit. Both actors committed, and that's why it still holds up. Number 9, Sean Penn and Charlie Sheen were originally considered for Daniel. Before Ralph Macchio became Daniel LaRusso, the role made the rounds through half of young Hollywood. Sean Penn, Charlie Sheen, Robert Downey Jr., Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage, Emilio Estevez, the casting sheet read like an 80s time capsule. Charlie Sheen claims he was actually offered the part. According to his Netflix documentary, director Avildsen wanted him, but Sheen's father advised him to honor a prior commitment, filming Grizzly 2 in Hungary. He chose a Killer Bear movie over the crane kick. Sean Penn was also in the mix, but reportedly passed. He'd just done Fast Times at Ridgemont High and was angling toward more serious dramatic work. It's hard to imagine anyone else as Daniel now, though. Penn's intensity would have made the character completely different, more brooding and less lovable. Macchio brought a vulnerability that made you actually root for the kid. Penn went on to win 2 Oscars. Macchio became synonymous with a role still beloved 4 decades later. Both landed exactly where they needed to be. Number 8, Pat Morita designed the bonsai logo on Daniel's gi. That bonsai tree patch on Daniel's gi, the one that became the symbol of Miyagi-Do and launched endless merchandise, Pat Morita designed it himself.
Hey, you know, if you ever want this patch back, I'll understand.
I know you understand.
He sketched it out, handed it to wardrobe, and said, "This is what Miyagi would want." And he was right. The guy spends half the movie obsessing over tiny trees, so of course he'd care about what goes on the gi. It also ties back to one of the film's best scenes. Miyagi gives Daniel a bonsai, tells him about roots and choosing your own path. Then Daniel walks into the tournament wearing that symbol. Most actors wear whatever wardrobe hands them. Morita created something still on t-shirts 40 years later. Quick pause from waxing on and waxing off, and no, not in that way. Be honest, did you ever try the crane kick in your backyard and nearly wipe out? Drop your confession in the comment section below and be sure to hit that like and subscribe buttons while you're down there. Alright, let's get back into the countdown with number 7. You can still visit Daniel's apartment complex. The Karate Kid wasn't shot on some Hollywood backlot dressed up to look like California. Director John Avildsen took the production to actual San Fernando Valley locations. Daniel's apartment complex, well, that's the South Seas Apartments on Satakoy Street in Reseda. Still standing, still called South Seas, and fans still show up to take photos. The beach where Daniel meets Allie, Leo Carrillo in Malibu. The high school is a real junior high in Woodland Hills, and the All-Valley Tournament, the Matadome at Cal State Northridge. The one exception was Miyagi's house. That backyard oasis with the bonsai trees and the koi pond, well, they built all of that. The Japanese garden, the junkyard, even fake rail tracks around an existing house. By the time they made Karate Kid 3, the property had been demolished and they had to recreate the whole thing on a soundstage. Number 6, the parking lot scene that took 3 years to film. The ending we know. Daniel wins, crowd goes wild, freeze frame, credits. That wasn't the original plan. The script kept going actually. After Daniel's victory, the story followed everyone into the parking lot where Kreese completely loses it.
Mercy is for the weak. We do not train to be merciful here.
He berates Johnny, snaps his trophy in half, and starts choking the kid. Miyagi steps in, humiliates Kreese without throwing a punch, and the Cobra Kai students drop their belts around their broken sensei. It was written, rehearsed, and ready to shoot. Then the producers pulled the plug. Test audiences were exhausted after the tournament. Tacking on another 5 minutes of confrontation deflated the high. The studio wanted people walking out in victory, not a parking lot beatdown. The scene sat in a drawer until part 2 needed an opening. They finally filmed it, and it worked even better as a prologue. A reminder that winning the tournament didn't fix everything. Number 5, Ralph Macchio still owns the trophy and the car. Ralph Macchio got attached. Decades later, he still owns the All-Valley Tournament trophy. The actual prop Daniel hoisted over his head in that triumphant freeze frame, it's sitting somewhere in his house right now. But that's not all. He also kept the yellow 1948 Ford Super Deluxe, the wax-on, wax-off car that convinced an entire generation that car detailing was basically martial arts training. After part 3 wrapped, Columbia Pictures delivered it to his house on a flatbed. He never even had to pay for it. And then there's this. Macchio named his son Daniel. The man who played Daniel LaRusso in a role that defined his entire career looked at his newborn child and said, you know what? Daniel. His daughter is named Julia, so at least the whole family didn't get character names. Some actors distanced themselves from their career-defining roles. Macchio kept the car, kept the trophy, and named his kid after the character. Number 4, the giant plot hole that only the book fixes. Here's something that might have bugged you without realizing it. Why is Daniel's mom working at a restaurant? The whole reason Lucille LaRusso uproots her teenage son from New Jersey and drags him across the country is for a job at Rocket Computers. That's the setup. That's why Daniel's life gets, well, to quote Will Smith, flipped and turned upside down. Then the movie just never mentions it again. Suddenly, she's waitressing, Daniel's getting beat up by rich kids, and nobody explains what happened to the computer gig. The answer exists, but you had to read the tie-in novel to find it. According to the book, Rocket Computers went bankrupt before Lucille even started. She moved her whole life for a job that evaporated before she could clock in. It's actually a brutal detail that adds real stakes. The LaRussos aren't just new in town, they're stranded. There's no safety net, no backup plan. They're living in a rundown apartment complex because that's all they can afford now. Daniel's desperation, his mom's exhaustion, it all clicks once you understand they're surviving a disaster, not just adjusting to a new zip code. Hooray for books! Kind of. Number 3, Clint Eastwood banned Coca-Cola because of this movie. You ever notice how many Coca-Cola products pop up in The Karate Kid? There's Coke, Sprite, Minute Maid, all conveniently placed throughout the film.
Any friend material?
Yeah, some couple guys. I gotta go.
Sit down and eat first.
No, I'm not hungry.
That's because Coca-Cola owned Columbia Pictures. Corporate synergy, baby. Film historians actually point to this era, Coca-Cola's ownership of Columbia from 1982 to 1989, as the genesis of modern product placement. Before this, brand logos were background detail, but after, they were mandates from above written directly into scripts. The Karate Kid, Ghostbusters, Stripes, they're all part of the same corporate experiment. Ralph Macchio hated it. He especially despised a breakfast scene where he had to say Minute Maid out loud like he was shooting a commercial. In protest, he deliberately covered a Sprite logo with his hand in Miyagi's workshop. When they made him reshoot, he exposed it for as little screen time as possible. Now, here's where it gets petty. Clint Eastwood was actually in talks to direct The Karate Kid on one condition. His son Kyle had to play Daniel. Columbia said no, and Clint walked away and banned all Coca-Cola products from his film sets forever. Clint Eastwood versus Big Soda because his kid lost out to Ralph Macchio. That's Hall of Fame grudge holding. The movie became one of 1984's biggest hits anyway. Coca-Cola got their product placement, Macchio got to passive-aggressively cover logos whenever possible, and Clint got to spend the next 4 decades drinking Pepsi out of spite. Number 2, The Karate Kid became a franchise phenomenon. The original film's success launched a franchise still kicking 4 decades later. Part 2 took Daniel and Miyagi to Okinawa in 1986, and Part 3 brought Terry Silver's revenge plot in 1989.
Say it, Cobra Kai. Never dies.
The next Karate Kid gave us Hilary Swank in 1994. The 2010 remake moved everything to China with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, and at the time, most fans assumed it existed in its own separate universe. Then came Cobra Kai. The 2018 series picked up 34 years after the original, following a down-on-his-luck Johnny Lawrence and successful businessman Daniel LaRusso reigniting their rivalry through competing dojos.
Jersey, he and I, we got into it a little bit. This guy really had it in for me.
Yeah, well, you did move in on my girl.
YouTube launched it, Netflix made it a phenomenon, and it ran 6 seasons until wrapping in February of 2025. Cobra Kai didn't just revisit the original though, it recontextualized everything. Was Daniel really the hero? Was Johnny the victim? Suddenly, a straightforward underdog story had layers nobody saw coming. Then, Karate Kid Legends hit theaters in May of 2025, officially connecting the 2010 remake to the original timeline by teaming Macchio's Daniel with Jackie Chan's Mr. Han. One scrappy 1984 movie about a kid from Jersey became a multi-generational franchise spanning 4 decades, 6 films, and a 6-season TV series. Wax on, wax off for 41 years and counting. Number 1, The Karate Kid knew zero karate. Now, here's the thing about the Karate Kid star. When Ralph Macchio showed up to set in 1984, he couldn't throw a punch to save his life. He'd taken a few jiu-jitsu lessons as a kid around age 10, but that was really it. No real martial arts training. Writer Robert Mark Kamen later described him as a skinny little string bean of a kid with zero coordination for karate. What Macchio did have was tap dancing. He started lessons at age 3, and that background gave him the coordination and discipline to learn complex choreography, even if he'd never thrown an actual kick. Fight choreographer Pat E. Johnson took it from there, training Macchio for months before filming in Okinawan Goju Ryu, the same defensive style Mr. Miyagi would have practiced. Johnson's approach was surgical. Teach Macchio exactly what he needed for each shot, rehearse it until it looked convincing, film it before muscle memory faded. Meanwhile, the Cobra Kai actors trained separately in more aggressive styles, keeping the on-screen tension authentic. The tournament scenes that feel so triumphant, that's painstaking choreography designed to make a tap dancer look like a karate champion. For years, Macchio joked about fans assuming he was a real martial artist. People would approach him expecting black belt wisdom, and he'd have to explain that Daniel LaRusso's skills didn't translate to the guy playing him. But Macchio didn't stay a novice. Over 4 decades of sequels and 6 seasons of Cobra Kai, he kept training. What started as memorized choreography evolved into genuine skill. Then, in April of 2025, it became official. Ralph Macchio earned a real black belt in karate. A month later, during the Karate Kid Legends premiere, the World Karate Federation awarded him and Jackie Chan honorary black belts for their contribution to martial arts culture. The actor who inspired millions of kids to sign up for karate classes while secretly knowing almost nothing about the discipline finally earned the rank for real. 41 years after the crane kick, the Karate Kid became a karate adult. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about the Karate Kid that proved there's way more to this movie than wax on, wax off, and sweeping legs. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We have more deep dives coming your way into the movies that shaped the 80s. Until next time, this is Remember When.